Good evening. Thought I'd start off with a couple of quotes that have caught my attention that I liked. Intelligence is the handmaiden of flexibility and change. That was a quote from Werner Vinge, who is a science fiction author and a retired professor. And my favorite is, patience with others is love, patience with self is hope, patient with God is faith. And that was by Adele Bestavros, who is a lawyer and a preacher. John, she's both. The Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in a regular board meeting on Monday, August 10th, 2020, in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, located at 10,300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on Comcast Channel 16 and the district website. And y'all don't need to worry about that. I got 5 grandkids, and that's not going to bother me. Plus, Don Ryan's not here tonight, so we've got to clear it out. They will also be available as video on demand on the district website following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Would you please make that step to turn your cell phones off? Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. I would also like to take this opportunity to recognize our Community Leadership Committee members who are in attendance this evening. Those in attendance are Leslie Martone. Would you stand, Leslie? Thank you. Ryan Irving. Where are you? There you are. You're always standing, right? And Francis Romero. There you are. Thank you, Francis. Appreciate y'all being here. And we did not have Boy Scouts here tonight, so we will move on. The invocation for tonight's board meeting will be given by Matt Hawkins, lead pastor of Houston First Church of Nazarene. Matt's wife, Melanie, is a 6th grade science teacher at Hopper Middle School, and they have 3 children. Noah, who is in the 8th grade, Briley in the 4th, and Quinn, who is in the 2nd grade. Matt has been pastoring in Houston for the past 11 years and in Florida and South Carolina before that. Pastor Hawkins, we appreciate your commitment to the students and family of our district, and thank you for being here tonight. I would ask that you please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation.
Let's pray together. Father, you are so good to us. Lord, we are so thankful for all the many ways that you have blessed our lives and our families. We thank you for the ways that you have blessed our community as well. And God, you have given us so many good gifts. And maybe the greatest gift that you've given us are our children. And so tonight we are thankful for them, Lord, and we lift them up to you, God. We know in this season especially it would be very easy for us to be anxious, Lord, and you tell us in your word that we can come to you with praise and with prayer and petition, Lord, with thanksgiving in our heart, Lord, and we can come and we can experience the peace that passes all understanding, Lord. And so we confess today we need that peace, Lord. in the midst of a lot of anxious things, Lord. And so we pray for that peace for us, but also for our children as well, God. May they experience that through us and in us, Lord. God, I pray that you would give us wisdom, Lord. God, we thank you for the leadership that is represented here tonight, God. We thank you for their heart for their community and for children as well, God. And we pray that you would guide their thoughts and their decisions. We pray. We lift up parents. We lift up teachers. We lift up this entire community and pray, God, that you would guide our steps during this pivotal time in life, God. And we will give you all the praise and all the glory for doing it. We pray all these things in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hawkins. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Board member Dr. John Ogletree will read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience. Dr. Ogletree?
Our vision at Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District is formed from the acronym LEAD. Learn, empower, achieve, dream, lead. Our mission is to maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. 1A, the board will recognize newly selected principals and administrators. There I go again. Administrators, and this is early. Mr. Roy Garcia.
President Covey and Board of Trustees, tonight we are excited to introduce to you 4 principals and also to our CFISD community. We will begin with our new principal for Bain Elementary School, Mr. Cesar Diaz. Cesar received his Bachelor of Science from the University of Rafael Bioso and his master's degree from Prairie View A&M University. He recently completed his 16th year in the education profession. He started his career as a bilingual teacher in Houston. His administrative experience includes serving as an assistant principal and principal at Southwest Schools in Houston. He also served as an assistant principal and summer school principal in Aldine Independent School District. He joined Cypress-Fairbanks as an assistant principal at Bain Elementary in 2015. He has served as a summer school principal at Duryea and Horn Elementary, and most recently served as the principal at Reed Elementary School for the past 3 years. Cesar is married to Mary Engel, who is a new pre-K bilingual teacher at Duryea Elementary. They have 19-year-old twins, Ana and Andres, who are graduates of Cypress Ranch High School and have completed their first year of college. In addition, he and his wife have a 19-month-old daughter, Daniela. Yoo-hoo. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Diaz on being selected our new principal at Bain Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia, and Board President Covey, Dr. Henry, and trustees. I just wanted to say thank you for your trust. I'm in a selected group of people that have had the opportunity to serve the same school in more than one capacity, and just having the opportunity to go back to that great community where I started in this district in 2015, and they were so welcoming, and just having the opportunity to be back as their principal, I am super excited. And that has been possible because of all of the opportunities to grow in this district, to become a stronger leader. Began in 2015 as an assistant principal under the wing of Dr. Mars, and just am so thankful for all the opportunities that I've had. And I will do my best to continue to serve and to continue to lead. and be an example for, just a servant leader for our communities. So thank you.
Thank you, Caesar. Our next introduction is for our new principal at Hare Grove Elementary School, Mrs. Michelle Lee. Michelle received her bachelor's from the University of Houston and her master's from the University of St. Thomas. She is entering her 21st year in education. Michelle served as a third grade teacher for 7 years and as a reading specialist for 5 years in Fort Bend Independent School District. She also served as an assistant principal at Cooper Elementary School in Spring ISD. She joined Cypress-Fairbanks in 2018 as an assistant principal at Hare Grove Elementary. When Michelle is not working, she enjoys reading and traveling. Michelle and her husband Kevin have been married for 14 years. No children, but they do have 2 cats, Mia and Zoe. Please join me in congratulating our new principal for Hare Grove Elementary, Miss Michelle Lee.
Thank you, President Covey, Dr. Henry, and Board of Trustees. What an honor it is to stand here to be named the principal of Hare Grove Elementary. Hare Grove is such a special school filled with amazing students and amazing staff members. And from our custodians to our cafeteria to our paraprofessionals to our admin team to our teachers, everyone is there for the success of the students. And I am just honored to take this position and take the lead at Hare Grove. And I look forward to continuing Hare Grove's success and to working closely with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. I must tell you where I was thinking and why that children came out is y'all do have lots of children, 800 plus children in Hare Grove, so congratulations. Our next announcement is for our new principal at the Alternative Learning Center East, Mrs. Andrea Lagarde. Andrea received her bachelor's from Prairie View A&M University and her master's from Texas Southern University. She has 21 years of experience as an educator. She is a proud product of CFISD, graduating from Jersey Village High School. She served as a secondary school teacher at an alternative school in Dallas Independent School District and as a biology teacher at Sterling High School in Houston Independent School District. In 2004, she joined Cypress-Fairbanks as a science teacher at Cypress Ridge High School. She also served as the academic achievement helping teacher at Dean Middle School and as an assistant principal at Cypress Woods High School for 8 years. Andrea served as the associate principal at Cypress Springs since 2016. She has completed the Aspiring Principals Institute, is a member of the Restorative Discipline Committee and the Leadership Development Advisory Committee. She has served as a summer school principal at Cypress Woods High School and Cypress Springs High School. When she is not working, she enjoys making crafts and taking her family to the amusement park to ride the roller coaster. Andrea and her husband, Johari, have 2 children, Miles and Sydney. Miles graduated from Cypress Woods and attends Texas State University, and Sydney is a junior at Cypress Woods. Please join me in congratulating Andrea on her new leadership opportunity.
Thank you, President Covey, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Henry. It is such an honor to serve in the district that I had a chance to grow up in. As you stated, I'm a graduate of Jersey Village High School, and there were so many people there that paved the way for me to stand here today as an administrator. And so it's an honor to serve and just to give back to the district that raised me. I have with me today my husband, who's very supportive, Johari. I have my daughter, Sydney, and my son, Miles. I have several other family members that wanted to be here, but they are in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my family there, and I have family here in Houston as well. And so I thank them for watching virtually, along with all my friends and family here in Cy-Fair ISD. And so I'd just like to thank all of the principals who've given me the chance to serve at their campuses and just to build my leadership up with Dr. Henry, Sue McGowan, Gary Kenniger, and Mike Smith. And so I appreciate all of them.
Thank you, Andrea. Our final principal introduction this evening is for the new principal at Reed Elementary School, Mrs. Karen Richardson. Karen received her bachelor's from the University of Houston and her master's degree from Prairie View A&M University. She is starting her 15th year in education. Prior to joining CFISD in 2006, she served as a pre-K teacher and assistant director at Foundry United Methodist Church. Karen served as a fourth grade teacher at Matsky and Farney Elementary, an instructional coach at Hancock Elementary, and as an instructional specialist at Danish Elementary. She has served as an assistant principal at Horn Elementary for the past 5 years. Karen has completed the Aspiring Principals Institute and is a part of the training cadre for the CFISD New Administrator Institute. Karen and her husband Cliff have 3 children, Whitney, Hunter, and Bennett. When Karen is not working, she enjoys spending time with her grandbaby Charlotte and Lonnie. Please join me in congratulating Karen on her new leadership opportunity.
Thank you so much, Roy. Thank you, President Covey, Board of Trustees, Dr. Henry. It is my honor to serve Reed Elementary. You see, I am home. Though I rode the bike up and down those streets, I babysat in those houses, and now I'm really home back to serve the community where I was reared. I want to thank Mr. Diaz for a wonderful transition and a tradition of excellence there, and a wonderful staff to serve alongside. I want to introduce the family that has come with me this evening, my entourage here. You guys want to stand, please? So, I'm bossy here too. So, come on up, guys. Everybody up. All right. So, at the end, I have my daughter Whitney, her husband Daniel, and their daughter Charlotte. I have my son Hunter and his wife Corbin, and their daughter Lonnie. They're graduating in 2038.
Wow.
And then I have our son Bennett Richardson, senior at Texas State. All these kids graduated from Cy Woods with the exception of Daniel, and we let him in the family anyway. And then we have my mother and her husband Jim and Yvette Calkey, my mother-in-law Beverly Richardson, class of from Cy-Fair High School. And then this is my husband Cliff. We'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary tomorrow. So it is my honor today to accept the appointment of Reed Elementary, and I will do my best to serve it well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Karen Smith.
I would like to introduce CFISD's new Assistant Superintendent of Business and Financial Services, Ms. Amanda Bowles. Ms. Bowles received her Master's of Accountancy and her Bachelor's of Business Administration and Accounting from Texas State University. She is also a certified public accountant and a registered Texas school business official. Ms. Bowles joins us from Klein ISD, that she was at Klein in 2012, started in 2012, and most recently served as a Director of Accounting prior to joining CFISD. Prior to Klein, Bowles worked at Deloitte in Houston as an auditor. She's supported here today by her husband, Zach, who is also in school business at Tomball ISD, her 5-year-old daughter, Riley, and her 2-year-old son, Cooper. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family, outdoor activities, and please join me in congratulating Ms. Amanda Bowles in her new endeavor.
Thank you, President Covey, members of the board, Dr. Henry. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm extremely honored and so grateful to be a part of the Cypress-Fairbanks ISD team. I also want to express my gratitude and appreciation to Ms. Karen Smith for giving me this opportunity, and just to be mentored by her and to continue the tradition of financial excellence in this district. I'm extremely grateful for that. I've enjoyed getting to know the finance team. They're a great team, and very talented people that I'm very excited to serve alongside. And I look forward to serving with this leadership for many years to come. This is my family that you've been hearing from all evening. This is my husband, Zach. As Karen mentioned, he's at Tomball, and we definitely share a passion for public education. This is Cooper and my daughter, Riley. Wanna say hi? Thank y'all very much.
Okay, we got all that covered? I'll tell you, it's an
One
exciting
more.
night tonight.
One more.
One more.
I was going to say, I'm next. So I'm Marnie Collins Sims. I'm the general counsel in Cooper. I want you to know that 15 years ago, my 2-year-old, you remember Dr. O, Bob, my 2-year-old stood there, and when he saw me on the screen, that's when he decided to announce that he needed more goldfish, Mommy. So he's now a senior at Cy Woods. So they do grow up, and he embarrasses me in new, exciting ways. But anyway, welcome, Amanda. But I am here to introduce my new assistant general counsel. He's the assistant superintendent in legal services. And stand up, Harry. This is my Harry Wright. So he is wonderful. He's been with us since July, and I just can't tell you how excited I am after 15 years to have a partner in crime. But Harry comes to us from Bryan ISD. He was the general counsel there for 5 years, but the shorter commute lured him here, as you can see by the lovelies with him. He is actually a Cy-Fair parent, and he and his wife Scarlett live here in the district. And so the idea of driving 15 minutes instead of an hour was what helped draw Harry here. But he comes to us, the children of educators. His dad was the longtime principal, I think original principal at B.F. Terry, right? High school in Lamar, and I think they are naming a school after him. His mom was a classroom teacher in Lamar as well. So he's come from educators. He went to Dartmouth undergrad, where he was captain on the football team and still graduated in 4 years with honors. And after that, he answered the call to the family business, and he was a teacher through Teach for America, and taught in HISD for 8 years, and he was also a middle school football coach, so special place in heaven for middle school teachers. And so then after that, he went back to law school to Duke, and so as you can see, we don't lack for intelligence in the Wright family, and so he was at Duke Law School, and then after that, he was my law clerk at Bracewell and Giuliani, so that's actually where I met Harry 20 years ago. So he does know what he's getting into working with me. I think half the board when they first met him said, so you know Marnie. So yes, he does know what he was getting into. But I am so excited to have an attorney of his caliber join my team, and he will serve this district well. And those, I want to let you introduce your family, but his beautiful wife Scarlett is a great supporter, a good friend, and I'm excited. Thank you for lending him to us, Scarlett, and he can introduce those precious ones with him. Thank you, Harry.
Good evening. Mr. Covey, Dr. Henry, board, I want to take a second to really thank you for giving me the opportunity to work for this district. I mean, of course, I've lived here for several years and always admired the great work that you were doing. And when Marnie let me know that she was thinking about bringing someone on board, I couldn't get here fast enough. I couldn't think of a better district to be associated with or a better person to work with again. I'm excited to death to be here. This is a great opportunity for me, great opportunity for my family. And just over the last few weeks, I've just been so impressed with the administrative team that you've assembled here. You've got a lot of great folks that are working for you. I look forward to assisting them and providing ample aid to Marnie as she continues to provide great assistance to the district and all of its administrators. Again, it's just another way for me to, even though I've been a lawyer, I thought about a lawyer for about 18 years. I did the math on it today. But I've always considered myself an educator. Anyone asks me, I'll tell them the best job I ever had was teaching 6th grade. Sometimes I get some bemused looks, and are you ready to be committed when I say that? But I loved education nonetheless. I'm excited to be able to continue to be of service and to continue my career in education with the district. Again, I would like to thank my family who's here again today, my wife Scarlett, my daughter Zoe, and my sons Max and Zeke. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Max and Zeke will be kindergartners at Swinky, so look out, Swinky, and Zoe will be a freshman at Bridgeland. So we've got investment in the district here, right here. Thanks, Harry.
And I will tell you, Harry, you're an impeccable dresser. I'm just going to say. I tell you, what can I tell you? And I'll also say it's a very proud night because I heard Texas State all over this place. I'm just very proud of everybody that went there, goes there, wants to go there. Yay, Texas State. And that's because I get to be president and say that. Anyway, right now we're going to take a break and we're going to congratulate all of our people that have taken over big positions. And then we'll come back in 10 minutes and no less. Okay? We will now proceed with the public comments portion of the agenda. Patrons who have duly registered per policy BED local may address the board and make public comments on an agenda item during or before the board's consideration of the item. The board may allow public comment on agenda items at all meetings. The board will continue with the remaining agenda after the registered patrons have had an opportunity to speak. Tonight we have 21 speakers. There are a 2-minute limit. You will begin, green light will come on over here, and then 30 seconds before the end, the yellow light will come on, and when the red light comes on, since we've got so many speakers, please summarize as quickly as you can, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to alternate so we can clean one after somebody's spoken. So here we go, and we'll start over on this side. Donna Lord.
Good evening. I'm Donna Lord, President, Cyfair TSTA NEA. I'm a middle school teacher and a taxpayer. During Thursday's work session, we were given what appeared to be an honest, authentic, and transparent explanation of why we cannot begin school entirely online. Cyfair TSTA NEA understands and accepts that explanation. Now, let's focus on issues that we can still resolve. There is still time to protect our most vulnerable teachers. Teachers who have legitimate, verifiable medical conditions should be allowed to work remotely. Unfortunately, the implication of take leave or resign may very well be the legacy left by this board and administration. We as a district are better than that. You are better than that. Teachers with legitimate high-risk medical issues should not be losing their jobs when there are viable accommodations available. They should not be living in fear of teaching and getting that disease. There's really no difference between an online live interaction with a teacher working from the safety of his or her home and an online live interaction with a teacher working from the classroom. In fact, the teacher working remotely could better serve his or her students by giving 100% attention to those online students. A while ago, I read a quote by author Lauren Oliver, and I'd like to share it with you tonight. Most of the time, 99% of the time, you just don't know how and why the threads are looped together, and that's okay. Do a good thing, and sometimes bad things happen. Do a bad thing, and sometimes good things happen. Do nothing, and everything explodes. And very, very rarely, by some miracle of chance and coincidence, butterflies beating their wings just so, and all the threads hanging together for a minute, you get the chance to do the right thing. This is your chance to do the right thing. This is your chance to preserve your legacy. This is the chance to prove that Cyfair ISD is really for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lord. Paul Langon. Paul, can you see the lights over here okay? They're up here on the side. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. I can see them.
Okay. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good evening. I am Paul Langoni, Cyfair TSTA Membership Chair and middle school teacher in the district. As membership chair, one of my main jobs is to reach out to members and listen to their questions and concerns. The last few months, I have spoken with so many members who have legitimate concerns about returning this upcoming school year. Many are scared and worried. Tonight, I went to share some quick member survey data. When asked, 89% of members said they did not feel safe returning to work, and 95% felt teachers should have a choice to either return in person or remotely. These are staggering numbers when you consider the percentage of staff members we represent. Teachers want to be treated as the professional educators we are. We want to know Cyfair ISD values our thoughts, input, ideas, and expertise when it comes to making decisions affecting the instruction of our students and the well-being of our students and staff. While many of our members are upset and disappointed with decisions that have been made at the district and state level, we want to leave you on a positive note. Cyfair TSTA would like to say to the students and parents of the community, we will continue to be dedicated to the best of our ability to the students and our district. Make no mistake, we are professional educators and educational support staff. We will continue to give our best to the children of this great community, regardless of how we feel about the treatment we are experiencing at both the district and state levels. The students will always come first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Langoni. Arabella Villanova. I'm sorry. Thank you, Villanueva.
Good evening. My name is Arabella Villanueva, and I'm proud to have been a student in CFISD. This is my third year teaching at a Cyfair Middle School, which is in the third most infected zip code in Harris County. I'm here to request that you please reconsider the possibilities of remote professional development and virtual learning. It is obvious that you know that this disease is serious because you have attempted to place safety measures in our schools. I truly appreciate the attempt.
Make your computer easier to use. Narrator. Hear text on screen aloud.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I truly appreciate the attempt, but it took my uncle only one asymptomatic client at his workplace to give him COVID-19 and take his life. While I was mourning his death, I spent the school days calling hundreds of parents.
Make items on the screen larger.
While I was mourning.
Type without the keyboard.
I apologize. Obviously, we have a friend we don't see in here. Hold on just a minute. I'm sorry.
While I was mourning his death, I spent the school days calling hundreds of parents, asking about their well-being, accessibility to assignments, and informing them of the curbside meal program. After talking to parents, I created online lessons on a platform I was not familiar with. I went on for the next 2 months, adapting every day, working way after hours, still calling hundreds of parents, along with grading assignments and trying to stay connected with my students. It was not easy, but I did it along with all the educators in my district. This month, I helped create some of the materials for my team on Schoology, and I can honestly say without prior experience that Schoology is very intuitive for teachers and students. Student progress is easier to track, and teachers are able to see growth areas through assessments and other features. Teachers are willing to adapt for their students, but it becomes harder to do when we are rushed and unsafe. We spend time building structure and safety with our students because we know it creates a more conducive learning environment. In many ways, virtual learning will require more pedagogical creativity from teachers, but choosing virtual learning earlier as a district will give us structure and safety, therefore making us better teachers. The academic success of this district is phenomenal, and I believe we can reach the same academic goals that we always had, but we all need to be alive in order to get there. What you do this next school year sets the precedent for many other districts. Please continue the chain of excellent educators and not make them have to resign or go to school buildings.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I was interrupted. Can I say my last paragraph, please?
I did stop at the call.
Okay, thank you.
Luke Billette.
Good evening. My name is Luke Biette, and I am a rising junior at Cypress Ridge High School. Thank you for allowing me to share with you some student perspectives about the reopening of schools. My first point is about the behavior of students. The current district plan is to treat masks as a part of dress code. Let's face it, if rules regarding masks are followed as carefully as the rules regarding ID badges or not using cell phones, about half of the high school population will drop the mask regularly. Social gatherings, the occasional fight, and even lunch in the cafeteria will be super spreader events. Secondly, I do not understand why my district is planning to reopen in-person instruction now against both local and national health guidelines. The director of the CDC stated that an area with a positivity rate of 5% or higher is considered a hotspot where schools must not reopen. The current positivity rate in Harris County is several times that. Many of my friends' families are not aware of these numbers. They will send kids to school because the district tells them that it is safe. It is almost guaranteed some of them will bring the virus back home, infecting their parents and grandparents. If one of their loved ones were to die, they would carry that burden with them for the rest of their lives. I love my school. I love my teachers. I love hanging out with my friends. However, I can wait for later this fall. Putting lives in danger is not worth it. My mom is getting ready to go back into classrooms and took the time to explain to me how to take care of my special needs brother and put his affairs in order in case she gets the virus at school and is hospitalized or dies. Please consider offering only remote instruction until conditions in our school district reach the levels recommended by county health officials and the CDC. Thank you for listening.
Lauren Wells. Lauren Wells.
Hi, I'm Lauren Wells. Hi, I'm Lauren Wells, a former CFISD student, currently at Baylor University studying mechanical engineering. I'm going to show you 3 red flags why we should not reopen schools in face-to-face. The first red flag is that statistics don't agree with opening face-to-face. As he just mentioned, the positivity rate that the CDC recommends is 5%, and we are currently at 20%. And here's where we closed, and here's where we are now. We're at 20%. New York is opening schools, but they're at 1%. That's a lot less. That's okay. I don't know what your metric is, but we need to have a metric. We can't just do this arbitrarily or because of politics. We're looking out for immunocompromised teachers, and we want those to stay alive. The second red flag is that this policy neglects teachers, and because of that, employees are entitled to know the risks that they could face while working, and they should be allowed to agree to those. And the third red flag is that what are we teaching our students? That we value politics more than safety? What are we teaching? All of my teachers, I know that all of my teachers would be telling me, my math teacher would say, look at the numbers. My science teacher would say, look, we can see the virus. We know how it spreads. My history teacher would say, let's look at history. Let's learn from our mistakes. The plague of Justinian, they didn't know how to quarantine. They all died. There was no one left to die. The Black Plague, they quarantined. And so they saved, some of themselves. But now we can see the virus. We even know what it is and how it spreads. Why don't we just do something? If we're in the bottom 14 states for testing, why don't we just do something else to help accommodate for lower funds for testing? We can do something else, and I believe in us. I know that we can do something. So another study that NPR said was that they tested 5-year-olds, and asymptomatic 5-year-olds could carry 100 times the viral load that severe cases of adults could. So it's not that they're getting sick, but they can spread it. They have the capability to spread it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Leslie Gilmart. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right. Was I? Oh, good.
My name is Leslie Gilmart, and I'm an instructional coach in Cyfair ISD. We educators in Cyfair ISD, we want this pandemic to end. We want to safely return to our school buildings, But unfortunately, folks haven't done what they needed to do to bring our virus rates down enough for it to be safe. We have to abandon wishful thinking for data-driven thinking, the bedrock of educational decision-making. We will have to make brave, inconvenient, and expensive choices, data-driven choices, for the safety of students, staff, and our community. Some data for you. It's already been stated that our positivity rates well exceed what health officials deem safe for reopening school buildings. And in the last 2 weeks of July, nearly 100,000 US children tested positive for COVID. Our CFISD has seen hiccups this summer in our programming, in our SAC camp, in staff members being quarantined and not being able to offer face-to-face summer school. What has changed that makes it safe for us to go back into buildings in September? What makes sense to do according to the data is offer teachers remote professional development so that as many of us as possible are healthy on the first day of school. Why risk infecting people before then? And this helps our support staff who are on campus because having fewer people in the building keeps those people well as well. Also, masks reduce transmission, and we know little kids can carry the virus, can get sick from the virus, and can transmit the virus. Why aren't masks required for students under 10 years old in this district? Face shields are not sufficient because the particles can get through. Gaiters are not sufficient. We need masks for everybody all the time. My family followed all the guidelines from our health officials for 5 months, and now we are all being forced back into buildings because my husband and I are both employed by this district and our children are both students. My kindergartner and fourth grader can wear a mask all day.
Thank you.
Mask for all.
Thank you very much. Tara Cummings.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Tara Cummings, and I am a parent and community member. At the last board meeting, I shared with you some very preliminary results of an anonymous online survey that we shared via social media, and we've now surveyed 1,006 CFISD staff members. I sent the updated data to you in an email earlier today, so I hope that you have the opportunity to take a look at that. Essentially, the data that I shared earlier, it's just gotten worse. Staff are more afraid than they were before. They are experiencing worse and more new and worsening mental health and physical concerns, and they do not feel that you've been transparent or have communicated openly with them. They do not trust you, and they feel disrespected by you. You claim that you care about staff members and that their safety is a priority, though you have a funny way of showing it. That lack of transparency, communication, and collaboration does not convey an attitude of respect or regard for faculty and staff. If you do in fact care about staff members, and I sincerely hope that you do, you need to do a much better job of showing it. No one should be forced to choose between their life and their livelihood, but that's precisely the position in which you've placed faculty and staff. Sure, they could use their leave, but they shouldn't have to. Sure, they could resign or retire, but they shouldn't have to. And what will happen to their educator certification should they make the excruciating choice to resign at this point? They are in a precarious position, not simply because of the non-choices that you have provided with them in the midst of a deadly pandemic, but also because of fear of retaliation from administrators and district leaders should they speak out and stand up for their rights. And yet, many of them are here tonight doing just that. They're in the parking lot doing just that, and I want to applaud and commend and thank all of you for doing that. I also want to amplify your voices and your demands because we belong to each other. To protect faculty and staff, I'm calling on the district to provide all staff members the option of at-home virtual professional development, to direct HR to work with faculty and staff to find real accommodations beyond taking leave or resigning, to begin in-person instruction only when doing so aligns with local and national health guidance, and to ensure in writing that the district will not take any actions against the certification of educators who make the
Dr.
heroin
Cummings.
choice.
Thank you. Gabriella Culp.
Good evening. My name is Gabriela Kolb. I'm a teacher in this district. I'm a parent. I'm a lot of things. On top of it, I'm a cancer patient. I'm one of those people that right now are terrified to go back in the classroom. Why? I'm a scientist. I read science, and I'm gonna give you just a very, very simple math. So, there is a new strain of the virus because this darn virus mutated. And the one that's most prevalent right now, it's 8 times more infectious. That means R naught is roughly 44.8, which means one asymptomatic carrier can infect 44.8 people in 24 hours. We go to school. My school has over 4,000 people in the building. First day of school, you have an asymptomatic carrier. No symptoms, no nothing. Doesn't get tested, because why? Next day, we have 40 others. The next day, we have 1,600. Day 3, we have 64,000. Let's say infectivity rate is 5%, which is the most ideal situation where everybody wears masks, everybody washes hands, we have HEPA filters in the ventilation system in the school. That's roughly 300 people in my school. Can we afford that? I don't think so. I don't think educators, teachers are expendable because I don't know how many of you are like me, but you can't find qualified, dedicated teachers a dime a dozen. There's no such thing. I really want to go back to my classroom. I miss my kids. I've been working online with them since right after the spring break. I've been teaching them. Actually, my last Zoom meeting was yesterday, because I have a team of students that wanted to do a summer research project. So I've been working with them all this time. And some of you might get the email for invitation for the presentation because it's a national program. But please, I beg you, think about us. I don't want to go in the school right now. I'm a single parent. Who's gonna take care of my kids if something happens to me?
You need to summarize. We didn't turn the light on. I'm sorry. We've gone over your time. That's all right.
So, what I beg you is follow the science. Send us back to school only when it's safe for everybody. Thank you.
My name is Laura Wynn, and I have been teaching in Cypher-ISD in social studies for 18 years. I'm also a parent to 2 CF-ISD students. I'm very excited to get back in the classroom, actually, and to teach because, number one, I'm healthy, and number two, I have faith in God. I'm putting my faith in God. However, my biggest issue that I would like to address today is the lack of communication and the lack of transparency to the teachers and parents. You made promises to parents, me included, obviously, and you refuse to explain or give any direction or details as to how to fulfill your promises. We have to wait until our 3 weeks of PD to plan. That's not nearly enough time to be able to plan because we're going to be sitting in meetings for so much of that professional development. It also takes 5 minutes every 5 minutes to create 1 minute of quality instruction. 3 weeks is not enough time even to get ready for 2 weeks of the first 2 weeks. The school board has provided no solid plan for cases of COVID-19 in the schools. You state that the area most heavily trafficked by that individual will be cordoned off. But in middle school and high school kids, they're going between 7 and 8 periods a day, locker rooms, cafeteria, etc. It's not a feasible plan, okay? And so what is the real plan for positive cases? At what point do you close the campus? We need actionable plans, most especially posted online. We're forced to quarantine, or if we are forced to quarantine, as some have already had to do in Cypher-ISD, will we not have to use our own personal sick days? What about your life skills teachers and paraprofessionals? They work one-on-one with kids with no shields. That puts them at the highest risk. Please post online how you plan to protect those students and teachers. What about paraprofessionals with major health conditions that put them at the highest risk of death if they contract the virus? Those are the most financially at-risk individuals because of their low pay. We cannot afford the district health, many can't afford the district health care, much less quitting to be able to protect themselves. Please protect our underpaid paraprofessionals. Will teachers be required to cover classes? Okay, I'm just asking for posted actionable plans online. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stacy Hunter, and I'm a concerned resident within the Cypress School District. Currently, the infection rate of COVID-19 in the zip code of 77449 is not 5, not 10, not 15, but 18%. I'm asking that the board immediately reverse its already decided on vote and mandate virtual learning for all students and teachers until COVID-19 levels recede to medical specialist recommended levels of 5% or below. After listening to all of the local and national news reports regarding school openings, I couldn't help but to come and speak my mind regarding this matter in support of teachers that can't say what they really want to say for fear of losing their jobs. My reason for speaking it is because it seems though the decision makers within the Cypress School District continue to express their concern for students, their concern for parents, but absolutely no concern whatsoever for teachers. The teachers have absolutely no say-so regarding the decision of teaching person or virtually. My first question to the board, why is that? Here's the problem. With infection levels as high as 18%, a few students might die. Several teachers are going to die. My next question to the board, how many teachers have to die from COVID-19 before you, the board, say, maybe we should go virtual? Since teachers are now dying from COVID-19, let's face it, it's a fact. Parents will definitely be inconvenienced if you allow teachers to teach virtually. However, unlike the teachers, parents' lives will not be in jeopardy, while their children will still receive a quality education and the teachers get to live. Before this meeting is over, change the decision. Board, change the decision now. Let the country know. Let Governor Abbott know that not only does Cypress is different. Not only does Cypress care about the students' education, but Cypress is a safety-first educational institution that cares about all of its employees, especially its teachers. Thank you very much.
Rachel Ryle. Rachel Ryle.
Hello, I'm Rachel Ryle, and I work at Jersey Village High School. This will be my 12th year as a high school math teacher, and I came here tonight because the changes in the policy have not happened the way that all the teachers, I believe, really would like it to happen. I know there are teachers that want to go back in person, but we want that the ability to have that decision. There are many teachers I know who have major health issues and their lives are at risk. And I think that, another person stated the 97,000 students tested positive in just the last 2 weeks of July. 338,000 students, children, have tested positive since the beginning of this virus in just the United States. Those numbers cannot be changed, and they're only going to get worse. And I know you guys are really put to the test here, and there's no good answer. I get it. I know everybody is really mad and upset, and I get that you're in a really hard position here, and there is no right and wrong answer to this, but do you want to be remembered for the teachers and the children that have died because of your bad decisions? That's all I have to say.
Nikki Cowart.
Are you ready? Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Henry, board members, and Cy-Fair teachers and staff. My name is Nikki Cowart, president of the Cy-Fair AFT. From the beginning of the pandemic, Cy-Fair AFT members have been focused on engaging administration in productive discussions around safe reopening. Teachers and staff have told us three things. One, they miss their students and want to get back to in-person teaching when it's safe. Secondly, they are very concerned about their health and safety of both themselves, their students, and their colleagues. And third, they are increasingly alarmed about the lack of answers and support from their administration when they bring valid health concerns or ask well-meaning questions. We know you are in a difficult situation. We know that Governor Abbott and the TA are attempting to coerce our district to full in-person reopening as it seems. However, you do have decisions under your control that could all make us safer tonight. We're concerned that forcing all Cy-Fair ISD teachers, even those with pre-existing health issues, will lead to COVID-19 outbreaks and worsen teacher shortages when students can return to school. The district has just a few days to change course and get this right. Teachers should have the individual choice to participate in August professional development, whether it be in person or virtual, if they do not feel safe. Our own polling shows that about 60% of teachers want the virtual option, but 35% said that they would do in-person PD. We should respect their professional judgment. At last Thursday's board meeting, we heard the district will work with employees on medically certified accommodations, yet our union is hearing staff are still being told, return to work or resign, and that is unacceptable. When we closed out the school year in June, the district was effusive in their praise of our Cy-Fair teachers and staff as heroes, and I agree. Now we have a chance to protect the health of these heroes and still get ready for a school year focused on learning.
Perla Kohler? Okay.
Hi, I'm Perla Kohler. I'm an activist, and I'm also a combat disabled veteran from the Navy. And I'm outraged that I signed on the dotted line and I went to go to a combat zone. These children, these teachers did not sign to be put in such a risk that their lives can be taken away. I have lots of teacher friends who are crying because now they have to write a will in case, well, they were encouraged to write a will because there is a chance that they might die because of a lot of teachers, they're older. And I will say, teachers, I'm not a teacher, but if it wasn't for teachers, I wouldn't be where I was right now. I didn't have a great upbringing, and those teachers changed my life. They gave me a positivity that I never had. Teachers are the most undervalued, underpaid, and just, why are we doing this to this? These are crazy policies. At first, we're gonna put guns on them to protect from the shootings, but we wouldn't get take guns away, and now we're gonna risk it because of politics. Abbott failed miserably. Dan Patrick failed miserably, and you guys, disabled veteran, PTSD, and everything of the sorts, and I can't even imagine what these children are feeling to have to go to school. And this, y'all do realize that putting them in a trauma, see, they're gonna die. One of the teachers is gonna die, and they're gonna live with that, and they're gonna remember all your faces. Mark Henry, Bob Covey, Ms. Blacksher, Jackson, and Severa. Is that what you wanna be known as? I'm a veteran crying to you right now. These children, these teachers deserve to be appreciated, and their lives matter. And what happened to all the lives matter? Where are those people? Guess what? Their lives matter too, and this is ridiculous. I will fight, and I did fight. I went to combat on the T-80, which means I did it voluntarily. I wanted to come back to a country that values its citizens. Because I fought for them, you need to fight for them. This is ridiculous. You have the ability and the control to protect them.
Sherry Frank.
Hi, my name is Sherry Frank. I teach at Cypress Falls High School. I have 27 years teaching, and I've banked 180 sick days. So clearly, I love my job. I love my school, my coworkers, even my administration. They are awesome, but most of all, I love my students, and I want to be in the classroom teaching those kids. I want to be after school making theater magic. And all I ever hear is we're thinking about the students. Well, who is out there thinking about us? The teachers, the paras, the custodians, and all those employees with underlying issues. It doesn't feel like anyone is thinking about us. Many of us are not from economically gifted campuses. That puts us more at risk. Many of us kept our families safe for 5 months, including my 86-year-old mother. And now, if we get this at school, somehow or other, it's our fault, and we're not covered by workers' comp. I can get shot, and I can slip on a coat hanger, and I'm covered by workers' comp, but not if I get COVID-19 and get sick and or die. I don't know why this is happening. We are not covered by anything. You're sending us into a dangerous work environment as cannon fodder for an enemy we can't even see to promote your optics and your politics. So unless you all sign up as substitute teachers, that makes you the general sitting safely behind the front lines, counting casualties without having to accept responsibility or culpability. And believe me, it's an if, not a when. You can say, I was ordered to by our president, by our governor, by TEA. I had no choice. It's not my fault. Well, the history of CFISD will be the judge, and all of us know where that indictment will fall.
John Rosenthal.
Howdy, y'all. I'm John Rosenthal. I'm the Texas State Representative for House District 135. That's this district right here. And I did come tonight to commend you for the resolution condemning racism. Down for that. That's good. There's no way that any of us can sit in this room and not be moved by this testimony. We have to listen to the people that are speaking to us. And it's not just the emotional part. So I'm obviously very emotional, but I'm a mechanical engineer, and I believe the way out of these difficult situations is to follow the science. So you know I never script, but I'm going to read to you from the American Association of Pediatricians. This is their guidance, and they say, returning to school is important for the healthy development and well-being of children, but we must pursue reopening in a way that is safe for all students, teachers, and staff. Science should drive decision-making on safely reopening schools. Public health agencies must make recommendations based on evidence, not politics. We should leave it to the health experts to tell us when the time is best to open school buildings and listen to educators and administrators to shape how we do it. I rely on you, and I know that you guys are committed to these people. And I have my faith and trust in you. Please, please follow the science. Listen to your constituents. Thank you so much.
Sherry Fricky.
Hello, my name is Sherry Fricky. I appreciate this opportunity to address the board. I am a special education teacher for Cyfair ISD. The expectation of my campus is for all staff to gather in attendance as a group on August 14th in the cafeteria. I recently had a surgery for lung cancer with MD Anderson and am still under their care. It is well known that COVID has detrimental and long-term effects on the respiratory system, among other organs in the body. Gatherings at this time, regardless if it is with adults or students, is very risky and puts all of our lives in a very dangerous position. My question to you is it reasonable to jeopardize any of our lives, much less mine, for the sake of staff and students returning to the classroom? We understand there should be a vaccine coming out in the near future. However, presently COVID-19 is not under control and is rapidly rising in Houston, Texas, as well as other states. The news has repeatedly shown people who have stayed home and only attended one mass gathering, such as a funeral, getting COVID-19. It is a highly contagious and dangerous disease to be gambling on as we go back to campuses. In a school in Georgia, the day after a picture was taken of kids in a hallway changing classes, 9 people tested positive for COVID. Virtual learning is the safest and most considerate option at this time. Actual lives and the lives of the ones we live with is literally what you all are making decisions on. And I ask why when we have an option other than meeting in groups, as staff, and face-to-face contact with children. One life cut short is one life too many when you have other choices you can make to protect the people of this community. In my opinion, literally putting our lives in jeopardy, especially those who are high risk, such as mine, is not justified for reasons such as funding or political issues. Thank you.
Megan Brannon Reese.
Good evening. There's been a lot said, and I don't want to belabor the points, but I do just kind of want to clarify a couple of things that are really, really important to the teachers and people that work in the district. Please give teachers the option to work from home based on family or health concerns, especially during the PD week. Please direct HR to work with teachers and staff to find accommodations beyond taking leave or reassigning for those with a medical need. Please have all students begin learning virtually and teachers given the option to teach virtually at home or at school on September 8th if our county is still in the red and the spread of the virus is not contained based on recommendations from the Harris County Health Department. Please ensure that a return to in-person class is only implemented when it can be done safely and appropriately, and when it aligns with the guidance from local health officials who follow advice from the scientific community. Please ensure that all staff have access to an abundance of sanitizing supplies such as sprays, paper towels, soap, and hand sanitizers, and that it is expected that all students and staff are required to wear masks at all times except lunch, keep 6 feet social distancing, and that the campus has procedures in place for mask violations and contact tracing. We know that there's an incredible amount of pressure that everyone is under and that there are no easy answers, but please try to keep us safe.
First, I want to say that I stand in solidarity with all of the teachers and community members who have spoken about a need to reopen safely. Like I spoke last week, I want to address specifically racism in Cypher ISD. This week, I'm asking the board make a plan to address these specific issues more transparently and more forthcoming. Assigning no place for hate commitments and saying we're going to audit the impact of racism in our district is a start. But for this current school year, with our current students and staff, these actions are only ceremonious if they don't affect students on day 1 of the semester. The board may indirectly say that Black Lives Matter, but it's lip service if they're not addressing the needs of our Black students with urgency. The board can tout our high Latino population for funding needs during the legislative session, but if you're not allocating these funds and PPE and resources proportionally to those communities, we are not serving them. Racism is thriving in Cypher. COVID is thriving in Cypher. That is not a coincidence. We need an actual plan to address how that impacts our students this school year. How do we keep them safe from a pandemic? How do we keep them safe from discriminatory discipline policies and from the racism they will experience in our schools? A lot of us think that racism is just using a derogatory word, but it is so much more than that. It is systemic, and it's the fact that the majority of the schools in Cypher that are Title I, that are in COVID hotbeds, are Black and brown schools. It's the fact that even though the majority of students are Black and brown, the majority of teachers and admin are not. We need a board who is going to model anti-racist mindsets. It's not okay to just be racist, you need to be anti-racist and working on that. And we need to hold every single employee to also be anti-racist. I'm calling on the board to specifically include their plan to address racial disparities within their safety plan to reopen schools, and specifically how that pertains to Hispanic and Black students. We have a right to know how you are actually bringing opportunity to all. These meetings are done completely in English. Are you captioning them in Spanish? Is it accessible to our Spanish-speaking parents? How can I communicate with them what's happening on the board when you're making decisions about the lives of their family? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Dodd. I'm a teacher and a parent here. I'm here to implore this board to listen to teachers as you have this community. I have 3 children. None of them will be returning to school. My youngest, Lily, has a very weak immune system. Last year, she had the flu 3 different times and a severe case of RSV, to list a few. Since June, return restrictions went from 10 feet apart and everyone wearing masks to 3 feet and when feasible on almost every line. Be honest with parents. These aren't guidelines, they're suggestions. When are you going? Were you aware that if my students don't wear a mask, but I do, there's a 70% chance they're going to give it to me? Professional development can be done virtually at home versus going in and doing it in the building, but still virtually. Give staff the choice. Why risk my life when it's not necessary? You have already quarantined 2 campuses and it's only admin there. TEA states that all students must have a device to offer virtual-only instruction and still receive funding. Other districts are doing it, and they have admitted not all of their students will have devices yet. So they're issuing 1 computer per household until they can get more. Health experts suggest not to have class on both the national and local level unless the rate is 5% or less. You make in-person class seem glamorous, but to be honest, it's not going to be. Students won't sit together at lunch. There won't be group projects, no sharing. What about their mental health if someone on campus dies? What about the instability created when children are constantly changed teacher to teacher every time a teacher is quarantined because there are no substitutes to fill the spots? I ask that this district, as other districts have, return online only and reassess as October nears for the safety of everyone. When did teachers and staff become so expendable when in the spring we were all such heroes? Contrary to what some of you may believe, in March, buildings may have closed, but school didn't stop. Staff made hundreds of phone calls, sent countless emails, and had numerous Zoom sessions. We continued to rise up. We continue to serve our students and those families. I close in asking you how much. How much are the lives of this community and staff worth to all of you? If I were to die due to reopening suggestions that you have laid out, are you going to tell my 3 children and my husband that you're sorry, that my life was just the cost of reopening you all were willing to make? Thank you.
Terry Harrell. Terry Harrell.
Hello, my name is Terry Harrell. I am a special education teacher. It's been 11 years that I've been in this district teaching. I've loved it. I love my district. I love my kids. I love the school that I work at. But I have to tell you that it's a little bit overwhelming as I think about all of the data, and we've heard so much data here tonight. You drive on the freeway and you see these blaring signs as I drive home to go see my 85 and 82-year-old parents. Code red, stay home, stay safe. And yet then I prepare to come into the classroom. And I think to myself, well, I hear all of this data about hospital beds. I know that all of phase 1 is full. We're into phase 2, 2% right now, according to TMC. So am I going to get a hospital bed if I need it? Am I going to be one of those people that have to wait out in the hallway if I should need it? I hope to God I don't, but what if I do? In the last 72 hours, Texas has had over 20,000 new cases. We're only bested by California and Florida. I know in Texas we like to be number 1, but thank goodness we're number 3. But this is the environment that we are opening this school in this district. I am bombarded by headlines and I want to just turn it off. I read about 300 children in Texas in daycares that have caught COVID-19. And I know that there are 307 children, but there's 643 staff. That means it's 2 to 1. 2-to-1, staff to children, right here in Texas, in this experiment that we have had for our daycares and our camps. Mississippi, 116 people in quarantine, I see that headline. Georgia schools, they're already having to close down schools. And of course, everybody's talked about the latest headline from August 10th, where we have 97,000 children that are already infected. So I say to you, this is an experiment, and I don't want to be a part of it. And I implore you to please do not make me be an experiment, because HISD is not going face-to-face until October 16th. You do have that choice. You have the choice. Please don't make us do it.
Good evening. I am a parent of a Cy Falls student. He's a senior. He wants very much to be back in school with his contemporaries for his final year of high school. We want that for him as well, but we have concerns. Concerns that I expressed in an email to the district, but I have not received a response. My concerns lie in the following. The district allowing parents to change the selection process for their students' education on a periodic basis. So in other words, we had to make our selection of whether it's going to be in person or virtual. We've made those selections. Is the district going to allow the parents to change those selections on a, semester basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, etc.? How well will the district enforce the guidelines, masks, social distancing for the on-campus attendees? I'm hearing whisperings amongst these kids that they already know that the masks are not going to be enforced. They know this. How does the district intend to avert a problem? Someone's already mentioned this, like what has happened at North Paulding High School in Georgia. That picture got out that student took of them in the hallways in their passing, where they were just shoulder to shoulder, as it normally is. And they've already had, several cases of COVID. And things like that are going to occur. There are going to be outbreaks as soon as you open these schools. And you know that you're going to have those. The linchpin, I think, is that as soon as COVID occurred, the schools shut down in March, right around the time of rodeo. Everybody remembers that. What's changed? A lot has changed, for the worse. But you're opening. And I don't know that that makes a whole lot of sense. So I think that a lot more consideration needs to be given to this.
We will now proceed with the board comments portion of the agenda. Any board member may make a comment during this portion of the agenda without prior posting being required. Comment items may not pertain to the character of any students, staff, or board member and may not be discussed or deliberated upon at this meeting. We're going to start on this side over here. Mr. Sarabia, you're up.
Yes, welcome everybody to our meeting, August meeting, and we welcome your input. At least I do, so, and I'm sure everybody else does too. Thank you for taking your time and being out here. Going back on the month here, it's been quite the different type of what we probably have been through in our lifetime. But I don't see it changing in the near future and stuff. It's going to be, it could be different from this week to next week and the following week, and it could be different for weeks to come. It can be different in a month. it's going to be ongoing changes, and it's something that we're going to have to deal with. And administration, I guarantee you, has your well-being, even though you may take it hard to believe it. I wholeheartedly know that they do and stuff. So, Mr. Cepeda, for the past month, we've had summer athletics going on and off with the COVID and hindrance there. We had participation. I'd like to congratulate those kids for coming out and giving all effort they have for the summer, and also other related issues. We get daily updates on various ongoings throughout the district, and they're trying their best to get on board, and I congratulate them on getting out there and hopefully listening to the science, but yet not letting the COVID dictate everything that you can or can't do. There's a lot of mixed feelings in the community right now and throughout the country, and that's something that's going to be tough on everybody. I want to wish the administration, Dr. Henry, the very best on ongoing issues that will be here throughout the fall season, looks like. And I utter the word patience over and over, and I'll keep doing that. Usually this is a time of what we've done during the month and feel good moments. Right now it doesn't seem like a lot of feel good moments at this time, but I'm sure there are going to be some in the future. And yes, we do believe that there is a problem, and we're not shedding our eyes towards anyone. I've stated it Thursday. I think I had 5 funerals, all COVID related, in the last week and a half. So I understand where we're at and what we're going through. But again, prayers to everybody. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of good stuff to say right now after everything. So, Bob, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jackson.
The bulk of tonight's meeting will be talking about the twin viruses that are afflicting our country. Neither of them are going to go away anytime soon. Both of them will be here next year. Both of them will be here the year after that. I would mention Byron Williams, Dr. O out of Las Vegas. You know, Dr. O could tell us about a storm that lasted 3 days and a shipwreck, and those who came off the boat. But I think instead I will mention my dad, career Army, combat veteran, heavily decorated. He was part of the reverse integration project in the Army in Korea, meaning when he walked into that mess tent, he was the only white man in the entire tent. That was purposeful. The comment he made to me, and like most combat veterans of World War II, he was a man of few words. He said, "Son, remember, we all bleed red, we all go to sleep at night." When I was a little kid, I found a cigar box in the garage. It was full of medals. Some belonged to my dad, some belonged to his kid brother. There was a silver star in there too. And I said, "Dad, you must be very brave. You're a hero." And he said, "No, son. I was scared almost all the time. I woke up scared. I went to sleep every night scared. We just did what we had to do." And those thoughts I carry with me. Some of you know I'm a stage 4 survivor. I still have active cancer. I pray for those of our teachers and staff who have cancer now. These are hard times, but they are always hard times. And I would say, I would pray for Dr. Henry and her senior staff, as well as for the teachers. There are no good answers. We will follow the law. Our flexibility, we push to the bounds, but our complete flexibility is in fact limited by the law. And so we do have constraints, and we must remember those constraints. I certainly, as Gilbert said, I appreciate everybody coming out, both last week and this week, and I know that you will continue to speak, and you should. And I mentioned when I went into treatment 6 years ago, and I knew they said 50% can make it 2 years. I knew what that meant. I stayed as a board member, and I asked senior management, please make accommodations. And senior management did. We had teachers throughout the district with cancer. None lost their jobs. They were all frightened that they would lose their jobs immediately. None did. Many came back after treatment. And the Cypher family welcomed them. As a board, we have asked for accommodations. Not all can have accommodations. We do have to teach our students, and not all choices are ours. But I do appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Blacksher.
I just want to appreciate the teachers that have come forward and spoken tonight. I appreciate your concerns, and they are certainly duly noted. I also appreciate for the teachers and the viewing audience that may not be here, but that I've also heard from that are ready to go back to work, to be in the classroom, and I appreciate them as well. To our seniors, our incoming seniors, I want to say to you that we are going to strive to make your senior year as positive as we can. I know for the seniors last year that recently graduated, it was an unusual into their senior year, and our incoming seniors are going to have an unusual start to their incoming year, and I pray that they will be able to, in that final semester, have a more normal look to their school year. I certainly wish I had a crystal ball and I could predict the future. I can't. So whenever I have tough decisions to make, I trust the God whom I have my faith in to lead me in those decisions, and that is what I've done all throughout this, and I will continue to do this. And I will continue to pray for our teachers, our staff, our students, each school year as I have done in the past. And I pray that the things that we are most anxious about will not be our reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blacksher. Dr. O.
I too want to thank all who spoke on tonight as well as on Thursday night. And I do also, even though our main concern has been on the opening of schools, I'm thankful that we've had citizens who have spoken up on our resolution and the racial issue that we must deal with here in this district. And that is encouraging. It is something that, as we look tonight, is just a start, but we know that we have much work to do. I believe that we are fit for the task and will do it. I've shared with others that I have 2 years left to serve on this board, and I definitely want to make sure that when I finish my time, that issue has at least been dealt with in a significant way. Even though I know that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of conversations, a lot of brutal honesty, and a lot of evaluations and a lot of change. We're faced tonight also with a decision and a situation that none of us desired. I've served over 15 years on this board, and I have never had to make a decision that is so heartfelt and critical to the health, safety, and educational achievement of our students. Our decision, and we are trying to support the administration, Dr. Henry and his administration, has great ramifications, and I think much of which are really beyond our control. I think we have a great board. We have a great superintendent and administration. I think all of our concern is for the students' well-being, our teachers, our custodians, our food service personnel, our administrative personnel. We really have, I believe, a genuine concern for all. But we're forced to shoulder everyone's concerns and needs. The approach has been to survey our parents, and we've had 38% of our parents say they want their children in class. 43 that said virtual, and we still have some that we have not heard from. And so this is not a simple issue or solution. I think, to the administration's credit, they have really tried to come up with a workable solution. But I think we should all remember and think about how we've been put in this very uncomfortable situation in opening our schools. And as the situation is due, as someone addressed this, but still pointed to our board, but it is due to our political leaders in this state who have put politics over science. I thought about this. Here we are as a school district, focusing upon education, and we've been for years promoting STEM, and the S in STEM stands for science. And we've been told to ignore science. Ignore science for business. And we've been told that as if one doesn't affect the other. We've been presented with a false dichotomy. There's a national pandemic, and many of you have given all the rates and the figures and the numbers, but we are being forced to act as if science doesn't matter. And science matters. But what I want you to understand tonight is that elections also matter. And locally, I think you're right. But the people who hold office have put all districts across this state, the over 1,000 districts, in this position. The governor, lieutenant governor, our state attorney general have this board and others dealing with this quagmire. And they've been following the position from Washington and not focusing upon what's best for Texas. And we have in Texas over 5 million students. So it is something that I want you to know that we're really wrestling with, and we want to do what's best. We've gone from our seniors being expendable to now wondering if our children are expendable. And I speak this as a grandfather who has grandchildren in this district. And so as much passion and as you've given us tonight, I want you to know I believe we've all heard, we've all felt, but we have done a survey, and we're going to have to see what we can do. And I'm assured of this fact that if the numbers rise, if they keep escalating, that we will do the right thing. We will do the right thing for our teachers, our staff, as well as our children. I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O. Ms. Heineman.
I've been honored to serve as a trustee on the Cypher ISD School Board for just over a year. It seems like a lot longer, but it's just been a little bit over a year. And while I knew there would be a steep learning curve, I didn't know it was going to be such a roller coaster. And unlike one of our new principals, I'm not a big fan of roller coasters. I definitely want the stability and security of having my feet flat on the ground. For the 3 years leading up to my election to this board last year, I attended almost all of the board meetings over those 3 years, sitting in the audience just like many of you all are tonight. I was participating as an interested citizen and a parent of Cypher ISD students. I am a glass is half full kind of person, and I appreciate so much that you are here as an engaged constituency. And I think that's one of the very positive things to come out of this current situation, that so many more people want to be aware and interested and involved in how and why decisions are made by your elected officials. An engaged constituency and active voters are critical components of our democracy, much like public education, which is the cornerstone of our democracy. Please know that we, the board, and Dr. Henry and the administrative team hear you. We read every email, every letter. We read the comments on social media. Please know that when folks say they are doing this or they are doing that they is we. We are parents and grandparents of students. We are parents of teachers, right? I look at so many of the administrators and their children are teachers. Their grandchildren are teachers. Teachers are parents and grandparents themselves of students. We are all connected. We are friends and neighbors with teachers and nurses, and bus drivers. Sorry. So it's not us versus them or you versus us. We're going to get through this together. As a board, we've tried to give parents choices, parents like myself, choices for what we feel is best for our children and our specific situation as families. For employees, the district has tried to give choices where it could while still meeting the requirements placed on us by the federal government, our state governor, and the Texas Education Agency. Providing in-person instruction for students who do not have access to technology is a requirement that comes directly from the governor. It also happens to be the right thing to do. Another example that I've read about is the concern about the attendance requirement for online learners. That also comes directly from the TEA, and we are held accountable for that. Offering one-to-one technology for students is critical for us to provide virtual learning opportunities for our students. I am sorry that we did not implement that strategy sooner, when we are not in a crisis situation and competing for computers and hotspots with the rest of the country, so that we would have had more options and more flexibility and more experience before now when we're in this crisis. I am very glad that we're now working towards that goal of one-to-one access and know that we'll absolutely have a positive impact for our students and their families. Thank you to all the departments who are working so hard on that effort. That's such a huge project, and it's going to have such a positive impact on our students and their families. So I know there's so many people involved in that. Transportation, our IT group, the Berry Center folks, even nutrition services, everybody's working so hard on getting those computers into the hands of our students, because only by that effort will we be able to do all online learning. Because if we don't have access for all of our kids, we're gonna leave some behind. If we go all virtual, some kids will not be able to keep up with us. So we can't do it until they can all keep up and have the same opportunities as others. With over 16,000 employees, which includes 7,600 teachers, CFISD is one of, if not the largest, one of the largest employers in our area. We do not take that responsibility lightly. So many families rely on our school district for their financial security. Several years ago, I took paid leave from my job to care for a family member who was ill and living with me and my husband. Contrary to what has been shared on social media, the district is also trying very hard to provide paid leave to employees. The district is also following federal and state laws. I encourage any employees with questions to please reach out to your supervisor or HR with questions and for assistance. I urge HR to respond with clarity and compassion so that all employees feel heard, appreciated, and understood, and that they understand their options. If employees are denied leave, they must understand why and how else they can be supported in their jobs so that we can keep our best teachers. At my current jobs, I wear a mask every day, even when I'm working in the warehouse or outside. My kids have not seen their grandmother since March and have had very limited contact with their friends, as I am that mom, enforcing social distancing as much as possible. These are some of the choices our family has made to try to keep ourselves and others safe. While this board may not always agree with each other, and we cannot make everybody happy with our decisions, especially in this current situation, please know that we are 100% focused on our core mission, our purpose, which is to provide an exceptional education to all 118,000 students who live in our district, all of them. That purpose is implemented thanks to the incredible efforts of teachers and nurses and paras and bus drivers and nutritional services and technology folks and counselors and our psychologists. facilities maintenance, and architects, and administrators who all care about our students and about each other. I mentioned that I'm glad to see so many people interested in the board meetings, and I really do believe, I do mean that. Seeing the signs outside and the emotion behind them has an impact. I hope that same passion will come out again when our elected state officials reconvene in January for the upcoming legislative session. We meet once a month, twice a month, and you're welcome to come to our meetings and come talk to us. State officials meet once every 2 years, and they only meet for a short period of time. And during that time, they set a state budget that we have to live with for 2 years, and we're at the tail end of that now. With the reduction in state revenues, there's a very good chance that public education will be cut. Last time we had a recession like we're in now, public education lost $5 billion in funding, and jobs and programs were cut across the state, including in Cyfair ISD. I hope we can bring the same passion and energy and fight for our schools and for our students and for each other when it comes time to go to Austin. I will be happy to meet you in Austin with my signs. Speaking of signs, I saw a sign about the county, about following the county orders, and I just want to share that we need to take signs down to the county too. We need to go stand outside those offices too. Because the communications we've received talk about accommodating families who lack internet access and devices and offer no resources, no funding. It says that we make ourselves available to continue these discussions, but yet they don't return our phone calls and have not met with our superintendent despite multiple requests to do so. We need resources and support from other county and state officials as well. The letter also included a suggestion for consultation with local health authorities regarding reopening. We've asked for that and have been unable to make those contacts. We need metrics. We need to know, we talk about numbers. We've not been given any guidance from the county on numbers for how do we know when we will close a campus. Is it one case? Is it a percentage of students, of population? We don't know because we don't have the collaboration and we don't have the guidance. So know that we're doing the very best we can, but we need to make those data-driven decisions when we have data and we have real guidance. Finally, I'll wrap it up. The current national coronavirus crisis has amplified issues within our society, like reliable access to the internet, food insecurity, affordable health care, access to child care, mental health, the value of public education, and more. Public schools are expected to provide solutions to many of these challenges. Why is that? Why don't other organizations have the same expectations? Why does public school support and public school funding not reflect these incredible expectations? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heineman. Thursday and tonight we had some amazing comments before the board. I'm extremely proud to look out there and see that we have such a large attendance, and I believe in our overflow room as well. It would be really nice as a board member to look out here at every one of our meetings and see this many people in attendance that are actually interested in what's going on with the board. However, I must say that I was saddened by some of the comments recently made about our reopening committee. Just to share, there were 32 who served on that committee, which is approximately the same size we do for all committees that we do within the district. There was a combination of assistant superintendents, health, emergency, safety, psychological, guidance and counseling, curriculum, principals from elementary, middle, and high schools, 4 teachers, 1 was a parent also, 2 paraprofessionals, extracurricular, 3 students, and 1 more parent. In addition, administration met with TSTA, ATPE, and AFT representatives as well as the CLC committee. ATPE even asked for an additional meeting, which was held, and many questions were shared and answered. It's highly important that you, as our district teachers, support staff and administrators, understand that this board that was elected to represent the Cy-Fair community and serve you as well, have a vested interest in you, your health and safety, while keeping focused on the Cy-Fair students and their educational experience. If you are not a person who has seen the board out in your schools, this board, unlike a number of boards in other school districts, goes out into the schools so that they understand what's going on with the feet on the floor and what's happening with the teachers and the principals and everyone else that's involved. I must also share that, and please remember this, during public comments, in following open meeting rules and regulations, we are not permitted to react or to respond to statements being made. That's a law. The board must adhere to these rules and regulations and only address and discuss agenda items that have been duly posted. A side note, because there's so many of you want to go full virtual, if we cannot furnish enough technology for each of our students, then by law, we have to offer face-to-face instruction too. This is a difficult time for all of us. Those that don't want to return to work in schools have valid reasons. Those that want the schools open so their children can return and learn have valued reasons. I have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren in Cy-Fair. 2 of my grandchildren have asthma. Their parents have decided they're going to stay home the first 6 weeks or 9 weeks, first semester, whatever it is. The other 3 are going to school because they don't feel like that they're going to have a problem. I think it's all right if we have different thoughts, but it is best when those thoughts can come together and find a solution. I look at people who are having to work in grocery stores, hardware stores, hospitals, restaurants, and I'm one of those that goes in with my face mask on and I do my grocery shopping. Actually, I'm always told that I overshop, but I go there anyway. And the list goes on, and they are working in similar conditions of being around many, many people who may or may not be practicing social distancing. Can all of you that are against this returning to teaching tell me that you have not been in one of those facilities since March of 2020? I think it's a question to ask of yourself. And I totally appreciate the desire and the depth of loyalty that you have to this district. Right now, we are asking for patience, flexibility, collaborative cooperation, but most important, teamwork. On a side note, the State Board of Education is redrafting the framework for school board development that has not been touched on for 26 years. That framework is something that will be another guidance that we as a board members have to follow. Whatever they set, whatever the State Board of Education sets, we will have to follow that. And that is something that is unknown out there. You think we're an independent school district, and we are. We try to make as many decisions independently as we can, but there are some decisions that we have to follow the rules and regulations, especially if we're going to be getting the support of the state and the monies that the state sends in so we can make your payment, your salaries. On a lighter note, and I do appreciate y'all being here, Dave DeJohn, would you walk up here? Where are you, Dave? Dave? Is Dave DeJohn in that room back there? Harry, would you look in the room and see if he's back there?
He's in the side office, Mr. Covey.
He's in the side office. All right, Dave, you're not in here. We're losing Dave because he has decided that he wants to go back into the classroom and teach. Dave has been over our TV station for the last 5 years and does a remarkable job. I told him tonight if there was any way I could block him from leaving, I'd do it. But he has made this choice. It is a calling. It is a calling he feels very strongly about. He will be going into Yates High School for HISD, and I know those kids are going to benefit. Come on in, Dave. I can do it. For a man that runs a TV station, he's awfully shy. Oh, okay. Okay. But I'm very appreciative of what Dave has done. And he has told me it is a calling. He feels the calling to go back in the classroom. All of you sitting out here, teaching is a calling. And that's all it is. And what you do with those students is something that is so highly important to their developmental skills. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to move on the board, but I'm the oldest person on the board, and I need to take a 5-minute break. So, Dave, come in here a minute. All right, 5 minutes, y'all. Okay, thank you all for returning. We will now proceed with citizen participation portion of the agenda. Patrons who've duly registered per policy BED local may address the board regarding matters of concern, interest to the district, other than the character of any student, staff, or board member. The board may not act upon any matter that is not listed under action items portion of the agenda. We have no one signed up for citizen participation tonight. So, board, we will now proceed to the consensus action items portion of the agenda. Action items under consent. 6A, the board will consider approving the minutes of the June 16th, 2020 regular board meeting. 6B, the board will consider approving the minutes of July 7th, 2020 special call board meeting. 6C, the board will consider approving the minutes of the July 21st, 2020 special called board meeting. The following non-consensus action items were moved to consensus during the board work session on Thursday, August 10th, 2020. The board will consider approving board members to serve as delegate and alternate delegate to the 2020 Texas Association of School Boards TASB Annual Delegate Assembly. 7D, the board will consider approving on dual reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 1, FFH Local Student Welfare, Freedom from Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation, revise. And I'm going to jump back to 7A, and I want to congratulate Ms. Julie Heineman, who has been taken as a part of the Leadership TASB class for 2021. Congratulations, Julie. I'm sure you'll set them straight, and we appreciate that a lot. 7E, the board will consider a request for the TEA parent notice requirements for students at risk failure waiver. 7F, the board will consider a request for the TEA reading diagnostic instrument waiver. 7G, the board will consider approving the attachment list of facilities for off-campus physical education Category 1 for the 2020-2021 school year. 7H, the board consider approving the CFISD Connect, a synchronous plan as the remote option for the 2020-2021 school year. The board will consider 7I. The board will consider approving the district instructional material recommendations for anatomy and physiology courses. So glad Don's gone. 7J, the board will consider approving the issuance of Career Technology Education, CTE, teaching permits to applicants in lieu of standard teaching certifications as established by law. 7K, the board will consider approving the shared service arrangement between Cypress-Fairbanks ISD and Region 4. 7L, the board will consider authorizing the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding with East Carolina University for speech pathology field placement and Texas A&M University for master's level practicum for school psychology. 7N, the board will consider approving construction proposals, contracts paid from bond funds to the recommended contractors and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contracts as follows. 1, 2019 high school band tower replacements. 2, 2019 high school band tower replacements infrastructure. 3, 2019 transportation centers, propane tank replacement and new fuel dispensing stations. 4, 2019 Mansky Road site improvement package. 7O, the board will consider approving the granting of a water meter easement to Cypress Creek Utility District for water service to Blyle Middle School and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. 7P, the board will consider the approval and execution of the plat for Owens Elementary School property. 7Q, the board will consider the approval and execution of the replat for CFISD Perry Road, Section 5, for the Maintenance and Operations Center. 7R, the board will consider approving the amended and restated declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions for Legacy Park and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. 7S, the board will consider approving the granted of a water line and temporary construction easement to North Harris County Regional Water Authority, NHCRWA, located along Mills Road at Mansky Elementary, and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. 7T, the board will consider approving the granted of a right-of-way easement to Harris County located along Mills Road at Mansky Elementary School and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. If any board member wishes to remove one or more items for further discussion, please do so at this time. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consensus items as recommended or amended. Do I have a motion? Dr. O, are you trying to get there?
Mr. President, I move that the consensus items be approved as recommended or amended.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
And before we vote,
Yes, sir.
since we have a motion on the table with a second,
Yes, sir.
may I ask a question of Roy Sprague?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, sir. And of course, General Counsel may stop me.
Somebody
but
send her out for coffee.
Please, I like that. This is the same question that I asked last Thursday. Harold Rowe, my first year on the board, wondered aloud, why did somebody always ask the same question twice? Well, I explained that answer, Harold, to Linda last week. I just need to hear it twice so I can understand it. I'm a little slow, guys. So here's the question, Roy, and I'll go ahead and read it. I've asked questions about air quality before. The first was after the mold from the ductwork outbreak in a neighboring school district, and then again after Harvey. I asked a basic question immediately after the pandemic hit. Week before last, the Dallas newspaper ran an article intimating schools were not in compliance with COVID-19 guidelines as promulgated by the CDC. I did a quick search on the CDC website, and I could only find a reference to standards pertaining to particulate matter from wildfires. So my question for you is the following. Are there guidelines for air filtration as it relates to COVID-19? And if so, do you think we're in compliance with those guidelines? If there are no specific guidelines, is our filtration system in compliance with promulgated guidelines for schools for the safety of students and staff?
Like I did Thursday night, I'll answer the second question first. We do have very strict building codes that we're required to adhere to, and it does cover the number of air changes and required CFM that are required to be designed into our system to bring outside air. What we do in our district, because we're in the southern part of the hemisphere here in the United States, we have a very high humidity climate that we work with. So what we do is bring in pre-treated outside air into our system. So when we bring that outside air in, we're basically taking the moisture out of it and then introducing it into our air distribution systems. And that helps maintain a very good, high-quality indoor air quality environment for our students and our staff members. In addition, there are some guidelines that have been published by EPA in recommendations related to COVID-19, and generally we follow quite a bit of those. One of their recommendations is increasing the amount of outside air into a building. We can do that, but we want to do it with pre-treated outside air, not just raw outside air, because then we're bringing mold and humidity in from the outside air into our building, and that would actually create some potential issues for us in our campuses, which we don't want to do for our students and staff. So what we're looking at is looking at a different filtration system. There are recommendations to do MERV 11 to 13. Most of our buildings are 8 to 11, and currently we're purchasing MERV 13 filters, and we'll install those in those systems that will allow us to be able to do that as we work with our engineers and our architects to make sure those systems are designed to handle that increased infiltration. The other thing we're implementing is changing our operating hours in terms of our air conditioning system so we can have more air changes, basically flushing out the building. So just recent discussions today, we decided we're going to run our outside air in our system 3 hours earlier before students and staff arrive, so we can flush out the building, run it, of course, through the day, and at the end of the day, we're going to run it another 3 hours so we can flush the building out and be ready for the next day. And that'll allow our operations team to continue their sanitization process at night as we have set up in our protocols to be ready for the next day. We're also cleaning all our air handler unit coils, our drain pans as well. And the other thing I failed to mention on Thursday night is our teams are going around and verifying the operation of all our outside air dampers to make sure they're all fully functional and working so that we can ensure we're maximizing the amount of outside air that we bring into our buildings.
And Roy, I want to repeat something I heard because I think it's very important. Even though you had your policies in place, what I just heard you say is that even today you're updating that, and I presume that you, like the rest of this district, will continue each day to look and see if anything else needs to be updated or modified.
Absolutely. We stay in constant contact with our engineers as to any other updates that come out from ASHRAE to see if there's any operational parameters we need to change with our systems, and we'll make those adjustments accordingly.
Thank you, sir, for another thorough and good answer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Certainly. Okay, if there's no more changes or questions, I'll take the vote. We have a motion by Dr. Ogletree and a second by Mr. Jackson. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. The following non-consent action items remained on non-consent. The board considered the endorsement of candidacy of Darlene Bro, Paige Rander for position B, Ann Sung, position D, Rose Avalos, position H, for the TASB Board of Directors representing Region 4. I know we're going to have a bit of a discussion because both Dr. Ogletree and I know two different people. I will say Ann Sung is representing HISD, and that's a large district, so her district chose her, and Rose Avalos doesn't have an opponent, so we don't have to worry about those two. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Ogletree.
Well, I will, you want to just discuss it, or should I put a motion and then, should we
Well, you want to
do a motion first or just discuss it?
You would need a motion in order to have
Okay,
discussion.
need a motion.
All right, I move that the board endorse Darlene Bro for the TASB Board of Directors.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Yes, Ms. Heineman.
I just wanted to share that I do know Darlene, and I respect her as an educator, and I would support her in this role.
And then I have to be a dissenting person because I know Paige Rander, and I know Paige has served on the TASB board in a variety of positions, not on the board itself, but in supplemental positions. And sadly, she was only filling out 1 year and was very hopeful she'd get a full term. And I know Paige is an amazing woman and a leader, and I know y'all both know Darlene, but I got to tell you, Paige she would be my choice because I know her background. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's all but me. So I'm saying no. And so we will support Darlene Bro. May I have a motion to approve non-consent? Oh, wait a minute, we just did that, excuse me. The board will consider adopting a resolution condemning racism and affirming the district's commitment of opportunity for all. Presenters are, and they're actually going to be, Dr. Ogletree, Ms. Heineman, Mr. Sarabia. Dr. Ogletree.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of course, after the tragic events of the George Floyd murder across the country, this issue came to the forefront, the new pandemic of racism, and we want to acknowledge that in our district we wanted to take a stand. Our Superintendent Henry wrote a letter to our community on this issue, but we thought that as a board that we should make a statement. We had an opportunity to do so earlier, but we wanted to really not just have a resolution that was not well thought out, and that we wanted a resolution that we thought would really give us a target and some action items to really pursue. This is something that would be board-driven and also in cooperation with our administration. So we worked to come up with this and to try to make sure that our statement was clear and that our statement was something that would give our district a target and also give those who work in our district and the students in our district some hope that change would come. And this is what we came up with, and I'll let Julie and Gilbert speak.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate Dr. Zoe's sentiments. Going back on a couple of months when, Bob, you were brave enough to bring up the subject. It's not a subject that's easy to bring up. It creates uncomfortableness between everybody. But it was something that you brought up, and that was showing good leadership, and I applaud you for that. We looked at other resolutions and throughout the area, and we wanted something like Dr. O said, something with some grit and some teeth on it, not only making this resolution, but also with the looking out for our employees also. So there's that they feel in the comfort in their workplace, and that's should be every American's dream of be able to work and that comfort of that, knowing that they can speak their voice without some kind of retaliation or some such. So, and then going on with the racism, and I'm not naive to think that that doesn't happen. It's something that we deal with. But do I believe that we're in the throngs of, say, other areas? I really don't. I think I still deal with high school kids and my side job there, and I can see where children, young adults are just learning. And they're not saying it to hurt. They just don't know. And we want to be somewhere where they can learn and thrive going forward. Looking at our history and being proud of what we have done and not being shielded for misconceptions and such. But I believe it's something there with teeth. And yes, I believe it's needed. We need to show leadership, and this is an opportune time to go ahead and do this here. And it's a good thing. Like Dr. Mark said, it's a good thing to do. And let's do the good thing, and that's what we're trying to do here. Julie?
Thank you, President Covey, for the opportunity to work alongside Dr. Ogletree and Mr. Sarabia in crafting this resolution. It was quite an honor and a learning experience for me. We had some really good discussion, and what I appreciate most is that we're focused on systems solutions versus just the easy way out. As was mentioned earlier, that this is a starting point and something to continue to grow and build upon, laying the foundation to move our district forward. Our current board goals already include many aspects of what we want to focus on through this resolution, including educational equity for our students, issues surrounding our disciplinary procedures and processes, the demographics of our teachers and our leadership, ensuring that they reflect the demographics of our students. So I feel like this resolution is certainly a positive step to demonstrate to our community our commitment to educational equity and to addressing systemic racism in our district. Thank you.
Dr. O, you want to read the resolution?
Yes, and I wanted to say again, I believe that when we focus upon those on the bottom and do our darndest to raise them up and really live by this opportunity for all, then this whole district will really go up, and we'll reach our goals. I'll read it. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District, the third largest school district in the state of Texas, deem it necessary for the respect and dignity of our employees, students, parents, business partners, and community to promote the tenet prescribed in the Declaration of Independence, being all men are created equal. Whereas in recent events in our country have brought to the forefront the disturbing issues of racism, systemic racism, discrimination, injustice, and inequality. These issues go against the motto of our district, opportunity for all. It is our desire that this motto become ingrained in our culture and behavior, so much so that Cypher ISD is a district that does not tolerate racism. Whereas it has been 56 years since the Civil Rights Act of 1964, whereas racism, systemic racism, discrimination, prejudice, injustice, and inequality continue to exist and are antithetical to what Cypher ISD strives to be. Whereas we have an obligation to help shape the lives of our students toward a better America, free of racism and systemic oppression. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we lead through policy and practice to eliminate racism, systemic racism, discrimination, injustice, and inequality in any and all its forms. We desire all schools to be no place for hate schools, as well as require the study and celebration of the history of all races, ethnic groups, genders, and differences. We resolve to engage an outside entity to conduct an equity audit that will lead us to develop an equity policy or policies so we can better strive to close the gaps of opportunity and achievement among ethnic groups, races, genders, and those of low socioeconomic status and learning differences. Further, we resolve to encourage our district to be a place for transparent dialogue among our board, staff, school personnel, students, and parents on the issue of race and racism, and there be no retribution for individuals or groups sharing what is perceived, believed, or experienced. In unity and agreement, we vote in affirmation and sign this resolution to be part of our permanent record as a Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Dr. O. Can I have a motion to, we do have it, don't we? I don't know, is it late? Yeah, this is bedtime, okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Yes. I know that there's some discussion. Go ahead.
I just want to give my sincere thanks to Dr. O and to Julie and to Gilbert for the great job they did on crafting this document. It's something that that we certainly need to support in our district and our city, our county, and our nation. And I am thankful for the opportunity to serve with this group of trustees that believe in this and know the importance of what we need to do going forward. So thank you all.
Thank you, Debbie, but we did not have a motion. You're thinking about the one before. No, that was the one before. So can I have a motion? That's okay, Deb, it's late for you too. All right, can I have a motion, someone?
So, Mr. Covey, I would move that we adopt the resolution as promulgated and as read by Dr. Ogletree.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Heineman. Now, are there any questions or discussions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jackson.
First, I would like to say thank you to the three of y'all. Exceptionally well done. You definitely touched on any number of the points that the entire board brought up as a matter of discussion. This board works through subtleties. We say many things indirectly, but they're meant very directly, and the three of y'all heard that from the entire board, and you incorporated those comments, which meant you had to be listening. And of course, that's one of the things that is included in the recommendation. I would like to add the following amendment. Board members shall take pertinent continuing education. The predicate for this I laid out when I spoke about it the first time. But at one of Linda's great RRRs, when they used to be in person, and I guess they will be again, I had no fewer than 3 principals come up to me and point out on the program guide or whisper in my ear, suggesting most indirectly that I needed to go to these seminars. And so I went. One was by Dr. Sharon Washington, and I bought her book. The other was by a lady who came up through the social work side. Both of these individuals were going to come before us for contracts as consultants for the district. And we did, in fact, hire them, and I did visit with principals who utilized their services and they were very pleased with their consulting services. But it was important for me to go to those seminars, for me to gain a better understanding in my role as a trustee. And certainly I need all the help I can get, folks, but I think that if we're asking for an equity audit of our staff, I would ask that at a minimum, we endeavor to take additional continuing education that's pertinent in this area so that it stays in the forefront of our mind, but also so that we gain a better understanding.
Mr. Jackson, I appreciate that. Thanks for that amendment. I will share with you that Ms. Stewart has taken a name of someone that, if y'all did the SLI online, in June, there was a group that works with A-Leaf.
Yes.
And I turned that over to her, and they've already had conversations. Part of that will be working with the board, and so I think that what we'll have from that is a derivative into exactly what you're talking about, and that's more education for us as well as for the rest of the district. So, and Deborah, am I correct in making that statement? You are, yes, sir. Okay. So, if that's acceptable to you, then I think we've got it covered in we resolve to engage an outside entity to conduct an equity audit that will lead us to develop an equity policy or policies. And that would be part of that. Would that be acceptable to you or not really?
Well, you know me, Bob, I always have two answers, right?
Okay.
I have 3 questions and 2 answers.
Okay.
So the short answer is, of course it would.
Okay.
But we're also dealing with perception and reality. So we know what it means and we know what's going to happen, but we also want the viewing public and the reading public to know what is actually intended. My verbiage may not be on target, but I would like some words in there if possible.
Dr. Ogletree, any thoughts?
Let
Yes.
Debbie.
I'm just gonna ask what I hear Mr. Jackson saying is that even beyond once we finish the equity audit, to ensure that board trustees would do continuing education in this area, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify what I believed I heard you say.
Okay.
And, you know, Bob, that would carry over to new people.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I know, and that's what this will
You know,
do.
the public really doesn't want me around here forever.
This- That's what this should do. And I'll also give you a little side note, and the State Board of Education has already added something similar into what they're asking boards to be educated on in that framework. So,
Do you believe it'll be something that will be done at the TASB level so that when we attend either our summer leadership or other
Yeah.
conferences, that they will have classes for us in this area so that we can get continuing
and
education?
I'm not sure the classes will be at that time because I'm not sure when class cutoff is. But I know that they have a timeline agenda where they have to have this back to the State Board of Education by the 1st of September. So I would assume that we will have that in hand before the end of September. I may be pushing it, but that's just a side note, okay? But Dr. O, is there something you think we can do to hours?
I think
Hours?
we could add that a statement in that paragraph there with the equity audit that our board, we pledge to engage in continuing education in the area of equity and bias training, something like, we could do that.
Okay. So do we think we want to add that because we really can't add that tonight? Is that right, Marnie? Because that would be, can we make an amendment to this resolution tonight and we're okay, we're still?
Yeah, it's, I mean, you've got the motion on the floor,
Yeah.
and then that's the debate, and then you can,
Okay.
you know, it's a friendly amendment, and so you can just say, you know,
Yeah.
then so
Okay.
amended, and then you can
All right.
vote on it like that.
All right, so How do we want to state it?
I think John just did. So, John, was that a motion?
Holly, did you hear what John said?
I was trying to put it together. That, in that paragraph, that, and as a board, we pledge, as board members, pledge to engage in continuing education in the area of, and I guess in the
he
area
talked
of
about equity.
racism, discrimination, we could use that whole,
Okay,
injustice and inequality.
okay.
We could add that over.
Okay, Marnie, another legal question, because I kind of wanted us to all sign this at the formal board meeting. Should we put off the signing until we've got the corrected verbiage in here?
Well, you've made the motion, and Holly can, correct the copy. What's in front of you is just for the agenda item.
Okay.
And once you make the motion and you amend it, we can retype it and have it for you to sign. Mr. Ryan had already expressed his,
Okay,
his support and said that even though he wasn't going to be able to vote on it, that he definitely wanted to sign it, but he would sign it when he came back into town, so.
okay. So we have a motion and we have a friendly amendment. Do we need a second on the amendment?
Yes, sir, we do.
Thank you. I left my dummies thing at home. Okay, second, thank you. All right, all in favor of the amendment, raise your right hand. Thank you. Now we have a motion and a second for the entire.
The amendment has passed,
The
and so
amendment
now
has
we're back to
passed.
the original motion, which
Thank
has
you.
a
Back to
motion
the
and a
original
second.
motion for the resolution. I couldn't think of the word. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Whoa. What?
I still have one more comment. You know me,
Another
Bob,
one?
another
Tom?
one.
Okay.
And this one I'm not going to push for, but it's kind of a pet peeve.
Uh-oh.
We're 52% Hispanic. We named our first great port city for a fellow by the name of Galvez, who is one of 8 honorary citizens in the United States. Yet the State Board of Education saw fit to remove him as a person to study. And we know that if you aren't specifically mentioned as a person to study, that means you won't be tested, which means you will be forgotten. And it's just kind of a burr under my saddle. All 4 of our great ethnicities in the school district had a role to play in the creation of our country. 3 of those 4 ethnicities did so with their lives. And that's an important concept. But if we're 52% Hispanic, and one of the leaders of the American Revolution, recognized by Washington, but also by our Congress as being one of the 8 most noteworthy non-citizens, and we don't study him, I just think that's wrong. So I do have a motion to amend, but I won't put it forth. But I still think the State Board of Education ought to amend their ways, and I still think this board ought to encourage them to fix their problems. If it wasn't for Galvez and the Spaniards, we might still be British subjects.
Well, your burr is acknowledged.
Thank you, sir.
And I feel sure that Dr. Macias is making notes over there now. So, did we vote yet? I forgot. Okay. All in favor of the resolution, raise your right hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you very much, and we'll sign it in September. Where are we? Okay. 7M, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and are authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda items. 1, assorted food for nutrition services, 2020. Assorted non-food items for nutrition services, 2020. 3, contracted educational services and professional development services. 4, district fundraiser services. 5, roof repair services. 6, software license and maintenance renewal expansion. May I have a motion to approve non-consent action items on 7M? have a motion? Looking for a motion?
Yes, sir. I will move that we approve the non-consent items
Thank
as
you.
enumerated by you, sir.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Ms. Blacksher?
Mr. Kobe, I will be abstaining from the vote as in bid item number 1, my son Jason is an executive officer of one of the one of the companies being awarded a bid, Jake's Finer Foods.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Blacksher. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. That's the 5 of us, and then 1 abstinence. That wasn't a good word, was it? Abstaining? How late? Yeah, it's almost 9. Okay, good. Lord, okay. 7U, the board will consider authorizing the administration to declare certain undeveloped district property as surplus and advertise the property for sale in accordance with state law and board policy.
I move that the board authorize the administration to declare certain undeveloped district property as surplus and advertise the property for sale in accordance with state law and board policy.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns? All in favor, raise your right hand, and that passes unanimous. 7V, the board will consider authorizing the superintendent or designee to finalize and execute a purchase and sale agreement for an approximate 16-acre tract directly north of Hoover Elementary School and negotiate and execute any necessary closing documents, contracts, easement, utility service, post-closing and development agreements, etc. This may be discussed in closed session pursuant to section 551.072. May I have a motion to go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mrs.
President.
Jackson. Do I have a second? Thank you very much. All in favor, raise your right hand. And we're going into a closed session. You really, really hardliners out there, if you want to sit and wait till we come back, you're welcome to. It shouldn't take very long, but I appreciate all of you from being here. Thank you very much, and we're moving into a closed session. All right, I need a motion to come out of closed session. Thank you, Tom. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. It's 100%. Go ahead, John, do it again. May I have a motion?
Yes, I move, Mr. President, that we purchase and execute the documents necessary for the 16-acre tract near Hoover Elementary.
Thank you, Dr. O. May I have a second? I second. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any questions or discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. Now we are adjourned.